Having had the opportunity to interview some of the teachers that are leaving and took opportunities for overseas employment, the issues that they highlighted include: 1, the inability to experience a reasonable quality of life on a teacher's salary, and the unlikely attainment of desirables such as housing and cars. The system's limited resources, which handicaps their ability to successfully educate their students. The relatively limited growth potential in teaching profession. The deplorable conditions of work within the schools. And finally, the social disregard for the efforts of teachers despite their challenges. Having met with these individuals, the People's National Party reiterates the following proposals, many of which were campaign commitments in the last manifesto. 1, immediately invest in the upgrading of staff rooms to create an adequate and comfortable environment of teachers to work from. 2, consider motor vehicle concessions of varying percentages for teachers serving 5 years, 10 years, and 15 years, unbroken. 3, reduce student loan by 5% for every year the teacher stays within the public education system. 4, arrange for special teachers limit of approximately $14 million per person from the NHT with a 1% interest rate, which transforms to the normal loan once the teacher leaves the system. 5, negotiate package deals with telecom communication providers for teachers to receive internet free of cost as a necessary tools of trade in this information age. 6, create teacher/public sector housing schemes with rent control strategies in desirable communities that could be facilitated by the HAJ. 7, review the funds being allocated for a STEM school for students to a STEM school for teachers, just training the trainers. 8, hold further negotiations with private sector practitioners to offer teachers adequate discounts. 9, reduce the red tape for principals to fill temporary spots in the short term with retired and pre-trained teachers. 10, negotiate with the private sector to allow staff so inclined to take 2 3-hour sessions to practice or participate in teaching courses that are in shortage. 11, offer teaching training free of cost during the summer months for all university students, and welcome others with degrees and diplomas who may be willing to consider teaching at some point in the future. 12, recruit retired teachers in the role of mentorship to assist less experienced teachers. We believe that this will assist in the immediate mitigation of the current problems being faced by principals to recruit teachers, but also it will assist in ensuring that Jamaica remains more competitive when teachers are being recruited for all spots in this world.
Why you are my people? And we have to talk about something. Because them say, little man, them say Andrew only is young and bright, and for him make the first speech and take off the bright and say young. We're not going to make the 3 minutes finish. I'm going to give it time. No, but I'm talking the truth. Everybody know I talk the truth. I'm going to care who vex. Bright like who? Andrew is bright like who? Alright, since it's young people time then, I want them to feed them 4 under 50 and come debate our 2 under 50 because them can't manage our 4 under 50. People say that education improved. Now let me explain something to you. The last results that come out for the literacy test, it happened that the public schools had 65% literacy. Nobody not talk about that. Because the government is directly responsible for public schools. So I'm going to use where private schools $60,000 a term, bring up the average and claims him doing well. But if you're in charge of a system that 35% can't read and write, you should have shame. And him in a tie, and to them see him in a newspaper, he pick me and skip. Well, you need to sort out the education system and stop telling lies. Now, well, I'm not going to make the time finish. I'm going to give it time. No. What I am disgruntled about and what I'm upset about is that he himself knows that the education system is not sufficient. And I know he knows because his children don't go to public school. I mean, I talk the thing, I don't care who I'm vexed. If you want to do some good, make a picnic, go to the same school that we are going to. And that we are suffering on. Now when you go on YouTube, put it on YouTube. Alright, I'm going to finish. I don't want to come job. No. I see Andrew is blaming the teachers for a systematic problem. He's blaming the principals for a systematic problem. Let me tell you what the problem is with education. Poverty is a problem with education. The fact of the matter is that you have some schools that I hear him term failed schools. And to this point I don't hear him solution. If him have all these solutions that him claim, tell me some. Make us see what you have to put on the table. Because he was in parliament and he was in cabinet and I don't see the answer and I don't see in the media any solution. And you can't say Bruce don't take solution because he took PMP. Why your solution? Because when him tax, we teach him how to tax. So if Andrew they have a suggestion, he could have made it. And the last time I said, look like Andrew the one get out Bruce himself.
So you'll be them. So you're mistreated.
Last point.
So you lock them down and you think that you won, but them all a meditation. All of you are vibration. Jennifer is the far eye, and the names are labeled right. So tell me where you are gonna do now. Tell me what you gonna do now. Tell me what you gonna do.
Hold on, man. Because listen now. Remember, you know, because I'm sorry though, because I have to leave as I finish because I've been walking from 9 o'clock this morning. I have to walk a lot because Joan Gardner Webley have NSWMA money and she's working with it down in the constituency. I don't know when she's going to resign, you know, but I'm not calling for her resignation because people can see immorality when immorality exists. So I am now fighting a people war. I'm going to walk and talk and meet the people. And she can go and chop bush. But I'm saying that chop bush is not enough. We want to do horticulture. We want to do landscaping. We're not going back that way. But the problem with education is that there's some schools that expect the children to fail. There's some schools that the class is overcrowded. There's some schools that the students don't have no book. And when they teach mathematics and say the area of a square is pi of a circle, is pi r square, and say, yo, you can't keep the pi and the r and the square, I want a piece of the pie. If they eat nothing from morning. And then the minister wants to blame teachers for that reality. So I want you to come and tell me how much school you build to say that you are doing well. I want to come and tell me how much more people pass in CXC to say that you're doing well. I want you to come and tell me how much people pass GSAT because you make some people couldn't even take GSAT. Say them have A-step. And you not talk, say all the charge are A-step minister can't even take IMF tests. I want a country that look at education as a total system. You see, when I hear people talk about tertiary versus secondary versus primary, that can't come in today's world because a man don't learn to learn, he learns to earn. When a youth go to school, he's learning so that he can get all the things that he wants to achieve. That's why you find nowadays that the girls are learning, but the boys not learning. Because the girls have less excuse to learn or earn outside of learning. Because I never see a female Dana make money yet. As far as Shelly and Fraser, she don't make as money as Usain Bolt. The girl will play cricket don't make the money where Chris Gayle make. And the DJ, Lady Sound, don't make as much money as Vibes Cartel. So the boys have so much example of earning outside of learning that them going to all kind of different things. And the only way you can legitimately earn from education in today's world is to get tertiary education. And so may I support this party and this leader because I expect that the next government will have a tertiary education trust to ensure that people can get access to tertiary education. I am here because I am confident that the next People's National Party will ensure that our infrastructure considers the disabled. That 10% of our budget can go to having the lady who is in a wheelchair not have to go on the road with the bus and the tractor. I am here because rural communities have often been left out because they look at numbers served. And I feel that Peter Phillips must understand the importance of getting good infrastructure into rural communities because, as PJ said, the road to development is the development of roads. I'm here because I'm tired of us making a handicap of the disabled. If you look at it, I'm here because I want this country to incorporate sign language in schools. Because the only reason why the mute cannot work in a bank is because I don't understand him. If I understand him, then what would stop him from counting out $10,000 and typing it into a computer? But we make a handicap of the mute. I'm here, Dr. Peter Phillips, because I want to see a country that have a boarding school for the disabled because we cannot build enough boarding schools or enough schools in every community for the disabled. So we must have a system that make all disabled can come to a 4,000 people boarding school. I am tired of everybody fighting for the poor and the poor not winning. You have approximately 170 high schools in Jamaica, secondary schools, approximately 170. I said that we should do 50 per year. We give them $100 million to build out their TVET program. Because you know that the heart of $15 billion each year. It gets 15 billion coming to it each year. So you just said that. So we are in agreement. So therefore, instead of 58 million, let us really change this country by putting within the secondary schools 5 billion a year. In 4 years, every secondary school will gone. And they will then build out their TVET infrastructure. Them call it their TVET laboratory. Because technical subjects need some form of these skills. Let us build out their TVET laboratories. Now, these schools will then open at 5 p.m. to accept adults for evening school. Again, there's a good model that exists with the Stats St. Andrew Technical High School that have their full adult evening school after 5, like 5 to 9. Now, what that will also do is to increase accessibility, because if the Prime Minister thinks that $3,000 was a deterrent for 1 year, you imagine that a person have to find a way to get there. And congratulations to Heart give you lunch. So therefore, we're saying, let us take the next 4 years and build out the TVET infrastructure within the secondary schools. Because you know what, Senator Mayor? The infrastructure of schools is one of the most inefficient infrastructure investments in this country. The infrastructure of school is used basically from 8 to 4, 8 months, Monday to Friday. And all of that investment then lay until either a political meeting a keep or somebody want to use it. It's an underutilized infrastructure. So if we should now extend the utility of the infrastructure by putting in the TVET laboratories, imagine how accessible 200 new entities that is what announcement is, not $502. Additionally, we should take the 11 billions being bamboozled from the NHT over the next 4 years to build dormitories in these schools
that will allow our students from wherever to attend one of the schools with the TVET specialization that they're interested in. Because you can't put every TVET in every school. So you have to really know, make this one, these 10 is that, and these 10 is that, and these 10 is that. So a person of this interest now, he then now goes and become a resident. I asked a contractor to tell me how much $200 million can do. He says, basically, a dormitory, $1 million per student, is reasonable, a reasonable expectation. So if you put 200 million in our school, you can put a dormitory for 200 children. Now you imagine how we can change this country when we can separate some of our at-risk youth from the influence of these communities and put them. We had that plan in the 70s when they used to go up to some of these areas and stay. That is how we change nations. That's how we change nations. Now they say they save for a rainy day. I hear the finance minister said, oh, we save, and when we save, we can spend, and we can save for a rainy day. They said the PMP is not the saving party. Well, let's analyze a rainy day, because COVID-19 was a rainy day. If there's ever a rainy day, COVID-19, let's analyze. Let's analyze. I already tell you about that already. Lies will not win you this election. And now I'm going to show a light. But when COVID came, they depended on the NHF, which was created by the People's National Party. That is the PMP saving fund that they had to raise. Go on again, Sophie, I don't want to take too long. When COVID came, they depended on the Universal Access Fund. All of the spending for children to get access on the wireless, and that was PMP saving fund. Come again. They depended on the Tourism Enhancement Fund. Well, go on, man. Tell me again. I can beat them. Okay? They depended on NHC. Created by the People's National Party. E-learning Jamaica. PMP saving fund. JC. PMP saving fund. Come again. Chase fund. PMP saving fund. Had it not been for the PMP saving fund, they could not have executed 40 years ago. Where would we be? I give you no heart. I give you no heart. I rewarded Edward Seaga for that. I gave him a plaque. He came to the dinner. He wasn't as what do you call it now? Biased as you. He came to the PMPYO's dinner, and I gave him a plaque. Look, NHT, created by the PMP in 1976. Michael Manley. Jamaica Social Investment Fund, 1996, P.J. Patterson. Chase Fund, 2002, P.J. Patterson. National Health Fund, 2003, P.J. Patterson. E-Learning Jamaica, 2003, P.J. Patterson. Tourism Enhancement Fund, 2004, P.J. Patterson. Universal Access Fund, 2004. Did you see Andrew Holness' name up there? No. All part. But part wasn't a source of funds. So it wasn't the saving fund. But it's a program that they're depending on. But I'm showing you that how is it that the band raiders are saying that they're better than the farmers of the corn?
A Gleaner report recently that stated that 70% of students at Pembroke Hall High School, the grade 7 or first form students that is, are either unable to read or can only do so at a third grade level. Is this news to the ministry? And if not, how long has the ministry been aware of this situation?
Okay, all right, that's the first one. Okay, all right. I saw that report on Pembroke Hall High School, and it's always sad when you see those reports. And it is the reason why we are focused on literacy. And you would have heard me announce that come September, from grade 1 to grade 3, we are timetabling reading. It had been taken off of the timetable some time ago, and we are putting it back on the timetable because we cannot afford for our children to leave primary school not literate. So that's our policy position. Now, we have instances like this where students are entering into high school that are not literate. And that's why we've put in some new programs. We call it the tactical approach, where we're focused on literacy in those schools that are challenged. And so our reading specialists are working with them. We're doing more interventions, and come September, for all of those schools, because we've identified the schools that have the issues, all of those schools, the children will now get breakfast, because we realize also that for those schools where we're having the challenges, the students tend to come from challenging circumstances. And so we have to be intervening on multiple fronts in order to address it. And so it's happening there, it's happening in other schools, but I'm happy that, at least in this instant, I can say that the ministry is already working with the schools to ensure that we do something about this literacy problem. And it is really a problem that we have to address in Jamaica. And that's been our goal, and it's been articulated. No child should leave primary school that's not literate.
Yes, Minister, but in case of the fact that we already have evaluation exercises such as grade 3 diagnostic or grade 4 literacy and numeracy, and PEP itself, if it is that you use these tests to detect whether or not a child is literate or numerate, if it is possible for a student to go through the grade 3 diagnostic, the grade 4 literacy, and PEP and make it to high school still not being able to read or at a third grade level, wouldn't it detect, or wouldn't this be a way of detecting that there are gaps in the education system that the ministry has failed to plug up?
I think there are gaps, and I think it's clear that there are gaps, because you do the grade 3 test, and that tells you what's happening in terms of numeracy. And I've been to many schools, and there's some schools that will show you this was the result at grade 3, and this is the plan that we have put in place, and this is how we're seeing it change from year on year. And they'll tell you that they've been working with the ministry, they've been putting in intervention programs, and they're seeing success. And so we have some schools where you have leadership that is spending a lot of time on the tests, and that's going through it and doing interventions. We even had a new one, which we started last year, which was for every student at grade 5 that was seen as underperforming at the level. We did diagnostic tests for 2,000 of them last summer, and this summer we're going to do it. So all of them that we find that are underperforming will now get a diagnostic test over the summer holiday. And so there are more interventions like that we need to do, but we also have to work with the school leadership, because we do have a board, we have a principal in all of these schools, and it's very important that we showcase the schools where they have a problem at grade 3, and you see by grade 6 it has been addressed. And what that means to me is that it can be done, and with the right leadership and with them taking the tools we have in the ministry, that we can definitely, within another 3 or 4 years, we can eliminate this problem. But it takes the board to be proactive. A board has to be proactive. And remember, all these children at Pembroke Hall High are coming from primary schools. And so the primary schools have to take that ownership too and work with us in the ministry in addressing this.
And last question on this topic. I believe it's something you spoke about before. There are cases where there are students that may have undiagnosed issues such as dyslexia.
Yeah.
And when you see a headline like this, I think the stigma would be that these children are quote unquote not bright, when that's not necessarily the case. But in terms of making sure that students who may have learning difficulties or disabilities in that are diagnosed, and you can say, all right, this person has dyslexia or ADHD or something that's preventing them from being literate or numerate, what is the ministry doing to ensure that these children are properly diagnosed?
All right, good. And we're starting a little bit earlier than the grade 3 test. And we are training our teachers to be able to pick up issues. And what we say to them is that when you pick up any challenges, you need to encourage the parent to come into the ministry, to come in and get a diagnostic test. Obviously, that's one area that we have to improve on, because there's a long waiting list for the diagnostic tests, especially at the facilities we currently have. And that's why we're building a new facility, which will be open this year, in order to do more diagnostic tests. Because I don't know if any of you have ever done a diagnostic test for a child. It is very involving. So you get the papers and you have to fill it out as parent. You have to take it to the school, and the school the teacher has to fill out a portion of it. Then the child has to go and get assessed, sometimes over several days, and then an entire report has to be written up. So it's not a 1 hour assessment that's done.
And then when it comes to CXC, it gets worse. Because 18% of Jamaican children get 5 subjects, including maths and English. And then I hear that the Minister of Education is seeking a promotion. What can go so? By right, she should be asked for her resignation. But I understand what is happening in the JLP because they have no talent. The JLP remind me of an artist that got to studio with 10 words and want to make 30 songs. What can go so?
Who retail the entity. But Mr. President, the entity has begged for its name not to be released. Mr. President, like many other entities, like many other individuals, the entity and its operators are afraid of government badness. The government badness has been a feature of the approach of the JLP government, as anyone who offers critique or dissent. The citizens of the country, Mr. President, are afraid of the government. You embraced a song called Government Badness and Joelness, not me. So you speak to the things you embrace, not me. Not me. I am also aware, Mr. President. No, but the pastor is just a exaggerated reality. It's not the first. It's not the first. Many who have criticized Mr. Holness have been arrested and publicized on the internet.
Mr. President, on a point of order. On a point of order.
I can give examples.
On a point of order, Mr. President.
Senator.
On a point of order, Mr. President. On a point of order, Mr. President, the senator is misleading the House, and he must withdraw those allegations. They are untrue. They are untrue. They are baseless, and they should be withdrawn. They should not remain on the record of this honorable chamber.
Mr. President, today is not the day.
Senator Crawford, look now, you heard what the minister
I heard,
said.
Mr. President, and I can guide her to the.
Senator Brown,
I can
please,
guide her to the social.
1 minute. 1 minute. Senator Brown.
I'm not sure that my right to dissent, sir.
You have a right to dissent, but you do it in order. Senator Crawford, you have made an allegation about the Prime Minister of this country. You're going to either withdraw it or you're going to substantiate it.
No, sir. I made no allegations. I said people who criticize the Prime Minister has been arrested. I did not suggest. No, I'm saying that I'll direct you to social media. I'll direct you to social media where they consistently post.
Senator Crawford. Senator Crawford, 1 minute. Senator Crawford, 1 minute.
Mr. President,
Clear.
what he's saying in any event is still misleading and seeking to imply. There has been nobody who has been arrested for criticizing the Prime Minister. None.
All right, I'll move on.
The noted incident is not because of criticizing the Prime Minister. Why the person broke the law, went to court and was prosecuted and
You're being
charged.
unreasonable, Senator. I'm not speaking to a person.
All right, Senator
Anyone of them you wish to speak
Senator
to?
Crawford.
Anyone you wish to speak to? Be responsible, man.
No, I can speak to an individual, Mr. President, who had to come on the social media and apologize.
Senator Crawford, I am not concerned about what is happening in the social media, you know. I'm concerned about what is happening here and you are imputing motive to a member of the House of Parliament.
Mr. President.
You have stood up and said that anybody, hold on, hear what you said. Anybody that criticizes the Prime Minister is arrested. Is that true?
Mr. President.
Is that true?
I am saying that, all right. Mr. President, all right, fine. Mr. President, let's move on. Mr. President. Mr. President.
Sir, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, I've never, Mr. President, I've never,
Senator
Mr.
Crawford,
President,
1 minute.
I've never done this before. This is my second term in the Senate, and I've never done this before. We have to remember that we have an international audience also. That statement is very damaging, not only to the Prime Minister, but to the country of Jamaica.
Mr. President, I will move on. Because there is no, listen. Mr. President.
Mr. President, I think that we have reached the point where you should make a ruling on the matter that is before you. And if the senator proceeds, then you should use your authority under the standing orders to discontinue his presentation.
Mr. President, on a point of order, go on, Peter.
Senator Crawford, you know you can put a stop to this very easily, though.
Mr. President, Mr. President, I'm really not sure what it is Senator Crawford is being asked to withdraw.
What I can tell you, he has made an allegation that anybody who criticized the Prime Minister is arrested.
Mr. President,
he is imputing motive to a member of the other House, and he needs to withdraw it.
No, Mr. President, with respect, I think you misheard.
I'm speaking to you and Senator Brown at the same time, so both of you decide who I am addressing. You decide.
Mr. President, he made a statement of fact. He said persons who had criticized the Prime Minister were arrested. That is a statement of fact. That is not in any dispute. That is not misleading anything.
Mr. President,
he never said everyone who criticized the Prime Minister was arrested. He never said everyone. He said persons who had criticized the Prime Minister were arrested. That is a matter of public record.
Senator, no matter how you spin it, Senator Bunting, it was said within a context.
And it is misleading.
And I'm asking the Speaker to withdraw the statement and move on.
Can I say something, Mr. President? Mr. President, I have written text and also the answered can speak. I said that the people are afraid of government badness. Government badness has been a feature of the JLP government. Anyone who offer critique or dissent, the citizens of the country are afraid. It was then suggested, well, I said that persons who have criticized has been arrested publicly and placed on the internet. So when you check it, so what is there to withdraw? What is there to withdraw?
What?
Persons who have offered criticism has been arrested. Me not say that is the reason.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
All right,
To do that is to juxtapose the two things together. And then you now are going to ask for persons to interpret that to be. That is wrong. And you are misleading. And Mr. President, I am asking you to make your ruling, and if the senator proceeds, then you ask him to discontinue his presentation.
President, before you make your ruling, President, Mr. President, on a point of order.
Senator Brown, what point of order?
Yeah, you've been asked to rule on a comment by Senator Crawford.
No, I've not been asked to rule. I rule already.
You have been asked
the ruling is that you have imputed motive to the Prime Minister, who is a member of the other House, and I'm asking you to withdraw it.
Mr. President.
I'm asking you to withdraw it.
Mr. President. Maybe you need to consult answer, because that's not what I heard said. But it can't be denied, Mr. President, that some people who have criticized the Prime Minister have been arrested, coincidence or otherwise. That is the reality. Some people have been arrested, And we must avoid this dictatorial, we must avoid this road
Senator
to
Brown.
dictatorship. In this
Mr. President,
Senator,
you need to calm down, Lambert. You're going on that line from morning.
It was my intention to make it clear that as a nation, many are concerned of the resistance to critique that the government... No, give me a chance. Give me a chance. Give me a chance. Whether the government side agrees or not, I had no intention, as it's being fabricated, sir, to have impugned any motive upon an individual.
so if that be the case, withdraw the statement and let us move on.
But we never say it, sir. All right. All right. Withdrawn, move on. Good. All right. I continue, sir, to say that many